I'm joined by Mandi, who's in Melbourne. So what's up, Mandi? How are you going today?
I'm really well, thank you, Etienne. I mean, after this market ramp this morning, how good is that?
That's awesome. So I believe we're live. You guys can just maybe comment in the chat. Let us know that you're watching this live. I'll make sure everything is fine. The sound is fine. We're a little bit kind of behind everything because it's the first time we do a live since a few months, or actually maybe a year even with Mandi.
It's been a
So we'll kind
year,
of get back to
yeah.
the process, get back on track, and do this as always. So today we have a topic special. You guys can comment in the chat, of course, if you have any question. But we have a topic about what is the mindset of $1 million trader, like the big guys trading a lot of money. How do they think? What do they do? What habits do they have? And what mindset do they show up with in the market? So Mandy, you want to begin with that and share what you have in mind on the topic.
So, yes, thank you so much, Etienne. And I'm so excited to talk about this today because, as most maybe not know, I was lucky enough to spend some time with Linda Rushke, the market wizard. And oh my God, I learned so much. I met quite a lot of her friends, also very accomplished, amazingly successful traders, and had also a chance to have an insight into their mindset. And Linda was enormously generous. I mean, anyone who knows Linda knows how generous she is, and she allowed me to ask her lots of questions and to really find out what made her tick, what made her become the champion trader that she really is. And so that's what I want to share with everyone today, and I have Linda's full permission to do that.
Awesome. So you sent me a little bit earlier a photo of her office. I'll just put it on the screen for you guys to see what it looks like.
Yes.
One thing I noticed from this photo is she has like a lot of screens, and we might not agree on the fact that you need multiple screen. What are your thoughts? Do you think we need multiple screens to trade with, or no?
So here's the thing, right? Never make assumptions. Always ask questions, because we all make the assumptions that Linda has those 10 screens. But as a matter of fact, she only trades with 4 screens because she looks at so many different markets. She needs to have those different screens. She looks, I think, at about 20 different markets. However, the other 4 screens are a complete replica. So they run off a different server, and they run off a different PowerPoint as well. So if one server goes down, she has a complete replica, so she's in control. Because if you have read her book Trading Sardines that came out beginning of the year, you will know that Linda had the experience that she was completely cut off from power. So they have a backup generator for the second computer. Yeah, the other 2 screens are for communication. So Linda is also, she has a little Skype team that she's running, and emails. So that's what the other 2 screens are for. So yeah, Linda only trades off 4 screens. There you go.
That's awesome, and that's a really good example of preparing yourself for the worst, like preparing everything, back up
Yeah.
everything, and having a plan. Like people think that everything's gonna be fine, but so they don't plan for the unthinkable, and then when it happens, they don't have a solution. So that's a really good example. I
Yeah.
really love that. It's awesome.
And that happened to me as well, Etienne. Once I was in a DEX trade and had quite a big position on. I mean, not as big as Linda, right? But big for me. And it was 11 o'clock at night here in Melbourne, and suddenly power went out. In the whole suburb, the power was out. And what happened was a car hit the the power pole in front of my house, and knocked over the electricity cables. So everything, most of the older suburbs, they have all the cables running above ground, whereas I never knew that from Germany. You know, in Germany, all the cables are running underground. Anyhow, so no internet. By the time I found my phone in the dark, so I could log into my phone, I was in $1,000 loss. It was enormously painful, but I'm glad I got out of the $1,000 loss. So that's when I also learned that the unexpected always happens. Yeah. Now, that is only one thing. And as I said, Linda learned that from experience. So when Linda started out, she started off with a bang. And the bang was that within the first few months, she went into a surefire position and lost 60,000 US dollars. And that was 1981. I think that was before you were born, Etienne. Sorry.
It was.
So That was a lot of money at the time. And so this is how her book Trading Sardines starts. Have you read Trading Sardines, Etienne?
Not yet. It's a book I have
Not
to go
yet.
through fairly soon.
I'll make sure you get one. I'll make sure you get a
Yes.
copy, because what that book is about, it's about all the outliers that happened to her. Like it seemed, she says that everything that happened in the markets, she was at the receiving end, meaning that she would lose money in these events, and she had so many misfortunes happening as well. You know, when life gets in the way, just the normal problems that we encounter in life. So she started her career off in 1981 with a $60,000 loss, and then no one bailed her out, and she had to crawl her way out of that. So the broker that she was working for on the floor in Philadelphia did not let her off the hook. She had to stay working with them until she paid everything off. So then she fell off her horse. You know, like guys, they buy themselves a Porsche from their first real paycheck. Belinda bought herself a horse, a racehorse, and she fell off immediately the first day, and she severed her right shoulder. Then she suffered 3 years of debilitating chronic fatigue. In April 1992, the Chicago River Tunnel breached, and her broker closed. She could not get in touch with anyone, and she had open positions. She couldn't close the positions, right? She had a soybean order that instead of closing the order, it got executed twice to buy just before it collapsed, and which resulted in losing a whole years of profits in this one trade. And then, she describes in the book how she dug herself out of that. And at the end of the month, she came out with a 30% profit on top. I mean, that's epic, right? That's amazing.
Wow.
She suffered for a while from panic attacks. I mean, who would have thought that, right? Here's this woman who puts on such big positions, but there were areas in her life where she had enormous fears that she had to deal with. She got divorced and was a single mom. So she was a single mom and running a fund. She was flying somewhere, and whilst she was in the air, her bond position blew up. And she was sitting in the plane, she couldn't do anything. Stuck in the plane, great. Hurricane Francis happened, and she was cut off. That was in Florida. She was cut off. There was no phones to take care of her orders. And then she describes in the book again how she dealt with it. She went to the neighbor's farm, which was a few kilometers down the road, who she knew had a satellite phone, so that she could use the satellite phone to at least call her broker that he will take care of her positions. The GFC itself did not impact Linda's performance, but she had clients in her fund at the time who consequently had to withdraw money, and that affected her fund. She had two brokers going bankrupt on her. First, Refco, who was bought by Man Financials to bail them out. Man Financials then renamed themselves to MF Global, and anyone who has been an MF Global customer now calls them, sorry, motherfucker Global. Not my words. A lot of client words who was at the effect of MF Global, whose funds were frozen for 2 years and they couldn't access money. So, for example, a friend of mine here in Australia, he was trading with MF Global, really big trader, had several $1 million with them. Funds were frozen. He could not do anything. He had most of his money in there. Had a nice car and so on. And he had to go back to give tennis lessons for $25 an hour. That was painful, right? Until the funds were released, and then he came back. So it was, I think, 6 years later when MF Global went bankrupt. Linda fell over whilst training in the gym and broke her other shoulder. The funniest stories happened when she typed on the wrong keyboard, executing orders without realizing, until her broker called her and said, "Hey, what are you doing? You put all the orders through them, it don't make sense." And then Linda realized that instead of typing on the keyboard for the Word document, she typed on the keyboard for executing orders. So every time she pressed the enter key, she executed 100 lots of the S&P. 100 lots, Etienne. Until the broker
crazy.
was like, something is wrong here.
So that's something that people might wonder, like, how can you be there and doing these things and then succeed afterward? And I think that's what we'll kind of talk about now is how do
Yeah.
you transform yourself into a $1 million trader or like a really good trader? How does that happen?
Exactly. So you can read all of that, how she dug herself out of it, how she dealt with the problems in her book Trading Sardines that you can only buy from Linda's website, which is lindarushke.net. You can also read one free chapter on her website. What I want to go through is, so when I read Trading Sardines, I read the book through the eyes of a performance coach, through the eyes of a human behavioral specialist, an expert who looking what are the traits that she displayed in order to succeed. And so let me start with a few key learnings because that's like a 3-hour, 4-hour presentation. But I just want to give you guys the key learnings, okay? So number one, Linda is emotionally highly stable. So she doesn't have emotional ups and downs. She is not moody. What I see with a lot of traders who are failing traders, they're highly neurotic, which is the opposite of being emotionally stable, meaning that they have a lot of mood swings. When they have those mood swings, or if you're a trader who experiences mood swings, I'm not even talking about, what's the word for that? There's a word for, it will come back to me in a second. So it's this kind of illness, right? Being bipolar, that's the word. It's not even being bipolar, just having mood swings. So your mood is going up and down with every tick, with every profit, with every loss that you make. Then you're prone to failing in trading, and you need to work on your mood swings. You need to learn on becoming emotionally stable. So Linda is extremely emotionally stable. Then because Linda is emotionally stable because of her belief system. Her belief system is something along those lines of there's always a way. So she's very solution focused. She's like, if I don't know the solution, if I don't know my way out, I ask my friends. And that's another thing. She has an amazing team around her. So she's friends with Brett Steinbarger, and she never got really coached by a performance coach, but she's friends with those amazing people who she also gets insights into their field of expertise. Yeah. She's friends with a guy who is an amazing coder. So Linda herself doesn't really code, but she has a friend who does that, whom she can ask for help. So that's the second thing. Believing that there's always a solution to everything, having a great team around her, and she just believes in herself. She believes in herself because she can trust herself, because she has a high level of conscientiousness. And so high level of conscientiousness means that you are responsible. So it doesn't mean that you don't make mistakes, but when you make mistakes, you don't go into it's my fault, I suck, what's wrong with me, I will never make it. It means, I stuffed up here, I need to clean up my mess, I need to deal with that. And that's where Linda is really, really strong at. So what being high in conscientiousness also means, means you do what you say you do, and you don't just do what you feel like doing. Now, that's what I also see with failing traders, Etienne. They say, I take my stop loss, put my stop loss here mentally, or I put it into in my trading, in my MT4, whatever you're trading, and then that's where I take my loss. But then price approaches that loss, we start feeling uncomfortable, you start feeling some pain. And what do most traders do? They don't do what they say they're doing. They do what they feel like doing, meaning avoiding the pain of taking that loss. And they move their stop loss, or they don't even take that loss until the broker has to close them out because they go into margin call. Yeah. So
that's something that I think people like do in trading, but they also do in all other places in life, in any other kind of discipline or any topic in life. And I think that's the real cut.
Exactly.
Is people expect that they can be a different person when they trade, but that doesn't really work well. And you know that for sure. So can we kind of go on that more and expand on that a little bit more?
So just to add to what you were saying, I see the same behavior pattern if they do that in trading in their relationships. They're so unhappy in their relationships, and yet they stay in the relationship, not trying to improve the relationship, or if the partner doesn't want to improve, to then say, sorry, it doesn't work for me, and then to move on and look for happier pastures. So they do the same in the relationships until something external makes a decision for them, which is usually an affair or usually an affair. That's how most of those relationships end, who are not working well anymore. So talking about being high in conscientiousness, the traits are, again, being highly responsible. So not looking at what's your fault, but how can you clean up the mess that you created. Number 2, doing what you say you're doing, and being your word, so then you can trust yourself, right? And number 3, Linda is a great believer in structures, in daily rituals, in solid routines. And she says order creates a well-functioning world. So when I was working with her, our day was really full on. Linda's such a hard worker, but oh my God, we loved it, right? Because she loves it so much as well. And so kind of when you work with someone who's so passionate, it's just fun. So we started the day always in the same rhythm. We got up at 6:30. Linda and I would go down to the trading room that you just showed. And Damon was the one who made the coffee, because he was the only one who knows how to make good coffee. He's Greek, he knows how to cook, he knows how to make coffee. He's an amazing trader and also an amazing trainer. Actually, I would love for you to put him on as in an interview. He's really interesting. So then we would have our preparation routine where we looked at what did the Globex session do overnight, and we put that into a spreadsheet. And then we would make our plan for the day based on what happened in the overnight Globex session. So after the session, after the trading day was finished, we first went to go take care of her horses, right? Her horses, she's amazing horses, and one of her horses is called Richie Rich, which is really cute. And they're like high-level horses, right? Like dressage horses, St. George Grand Prix horses, if anyone of you knows what that means. So the best of the best. And then we would take care of the dogs, right? Take the dogs for a walk, and then we would go back into the trading room, and we would complete the trading day. So we would go through what happened, the levels that the market traded, and the conclusions that we would draw for the following day. Also what we didn't do so well, maybe where our timing was a little bit out, and how we can improve for the next day. So that was pretty much how our trading day then ended. Yeah, so we completed the day and we prepared for the next day. And that was non-negotiable, Etienne. Even if you wanted to go and meet people, or wanted to go to the movies, or wanted to do some other fun things, first we had to finish our work. So that's the daily rituals and routines that are non-negotiable. Now, guys, how many of you have routines that you follow to the T? And I know, I found it always incredibly hard to have routines and to follow them. But being around someone who is so like clockwork helped me to lift my game as well. So that is what someone does who is highly conscientious. And then traders who are emotionally stable and highly conscientious, they also naturally have very solid, healthy coping strategies. Now, the coping strategies in high performance coaching, we distinguish between 2 types of coping strategies. It is the solution focused and the problem focused coping strategies. And Linda is very solution focused in her coping strategies. So
that's another big one. Just to kind of stop here a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain that difference? Because that's a big one. I see people that are stuck in the problem solution, or so they're not focused on the problem, on the solution, basically, always a problem. So can you expand on that?
So here's the thing. Someone who is usually emotionally reactive, so neurotic, have a low level of conscientiousness. They're also usually problem focused. That means they make everything about themselves. Something goes wrong in life, something goes wrong in their trading. They're like, They're discouraged after 2 days of a drawdown. They have unrealistic expectations. They say, I suck, what's wrong with me? I'm not good enough. And so that means what is problem focused. Whereas solution focused means, and that's what Linda does, it means, okay, so something didn't go well here. Was it the market? What did I miss? She would ask her friends, what did they miss? She would go back to her notes and say, maybe there was something wrong in my preparation. And Linda also has realistic expectations. She doesn't mind having, not having her profits run, so missing out on profits. She doesn't mind missing out on trades because she says, I'm human, I'm fallible. Of course I do. Yeah, so that's the realistic expectation. Someone is calling you.
Yeah. No, that's good. Totally fun.
Cool. So the next thing that is in terms of coping strategies, so how do we deal with stress, failure, and uncertainty? So Linda says you're always doing your best work when you're free from distractions and the influence of others. And also, how will you feel when you start the next trading day if you didn't clean up your mess from the day before? And you will be at a psychological disadvantage on the opening bell. So that's all taken from her book. Now you can see this is what it means to be highly conscientious and solution focused. On the flip side, she knows if she hasn't had enough sleep that she can't perform well, and she's really careful with putting on trades. But she's very, very self-aware.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm curious here. I want to go into this a little bit. So what if someone is at the point where they're not happy with how they show up in the morning and then they want to change things? One mistake people can make, I think, is they will try to change everything from like the next day, and you cannot change everything in one day. So how should they go about kind of starting the process to becoming better and feeling better every morning when they trade?
Fantastic. I love this question. And in my opinion, it all starts with emotional stability. So if you're a trader who's tending to be neurotic, and you can do tests for free on the internet as well that give you feedback. It's nothing but feedback. It's just, hey, there's something that's out of whack, you got to address that. Then you either need to do some transformational coaching because you have maybe experienced trauma in the past, or you have some deeper issues, and they can be completed and transformed in 1 or 2 sessions, right? But what you also want to do maybe is to look at when you are becoming highly reactive. There's always a trigger to your reaction. You want to go back and say, what was the trigger that set me off? So if you look at a different area in life, let's say a parent. I was just talking to a parent this morning in a cafe, and he's like, I come home and the toys are on the floor, and I don't know why, but I get so aggressive. So the trigger for him to get aggressive and angry is already imagining the toys are going to be on the floor. His kids are 3 and 7. Of course, they're going to be toys on the floor, right? Unrealistic expectations. And then to look at what does it mean for him. Level of disrespect, or he has a high need for order, whatever it is. So you want to do the same in trading. When you get frustrated, what do you do? How do you react? So let's say you are annoyed. What happened just before you became annoyed? And what was the moment before you were annoyed? So go back to the time when everything was fine, you were on your trade, you were happy, and then you felt the moment of annoyance. What was the trigger in that moment? When you know what your trigger is, then you can already start working on your emotional balance, because you can now say, oh, this happened. I now know that I tend to be emotionally reactive. Now I need to be really careful with my trading. Maybe I trade smaller size. You also want to look at why you are emotionally reactive. So for me, in my trading, it was often the experience of feeling at the mercy of the markets, feeling, sometimes discouraged because I didn't trust that I can ever make it, that I can find a way, like that my belief system was working against me. And I always say the best way to learn to live your dreams, or to get on the path to live your dreams, is to model those who already live your dream. So looking at Linda's belief system, who is like, I know there's a way, there's always a way, and I will find that way. When I got discouraged, and I didn't know that I did that, so my transformation kind of started in 2007, 2008, when I started to think differently. It's like, I'm going to find a way, stuff that. Yeah, I had to lose stuff, but I'm going to make it back. And this is how Linda thinks, right? Linda, her self-talk is, so after that big drawdown, after that botched bean trade, when she lost her whole years of profit, she was like, all right, come on, Linda. You have to bunker down, focus, concentrate, put your blinkers on. You're like a racehorse. You can do it. You find a way. You have an amazing team around you. Now go do it. That's how she spoke to herself. Whereas most traders, how they speak to themselves, and I hear that my clients, they send an email saying, what's wrong with me? I can't do it. Again, I stuffed up. Can you see the difference between emotional state? Yeah. So you start changing your self-talk.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Sorry, that doesn't guess why you mentioned the belief system and the beliefs people have, and so I'm curious to know: is there a way to know to find out what belief people have? Like, what's their belief system? Is it just talking with them, or is there another way to kind of find out?
So ask yourself, what do I have to believe in order to think that way? In order to believe, in order to have the results that I have? Do you believe that you have control over your life, or do you feel at the mercy of your life? Do you believe that you have the power to change things around? Do you believe that you can trust yourself? Now, if I wake up in the morning, if I go to bed and I say to myself, I'm going to go to the gym or for a run tomorrow morning, and then 5 o'clock comes and I turn off my alarm clock and I turn around and keep sleeping, how much trust do I can really have in myself? I have not earned my trust, have I?
No.
And then I write an email to my coach saying, can you please help me to be more confident? Well, I can't, because you have no right to be confident. You have no right to trust yourself because you keep letting yourself down. When people overstep your boundaries, do you let them walk over you? Or can you trust yourself that you take care of number one, of yourself, and you say, thank you very much, but that's not okay. And that was one of my big things. I did not have any boundaries and let people walk all over me because I didn't dare to say no. And that's kind of like when you have a losing trade, you don't dare to say no when you don't take a loss. And so for me, learning to say no in my environment, and I remember I was in a shop and there was this guy, and I was wearing a skirt, and he said something immensely inappropriate to me. In the past, I would have giggled and felt embarrassed and walked out. This time, and I have been coached to do that, I said, you know what, that's really inappropriate and it's not okay. And I said that friendly in exactly that way. Friendly but determined. It's not okay. And he was like taken back. Because I knew that him saying that, he didn't have any boundaries. And he had to learn boundaries from someone like me, right? So that also improved my trading, because putting a stop loss in is setting a boundary. Not letting the trade walk all over you and you having the experience, or the trade having the experience of being paralyzed and being helpless. And that's where the hopelessness comes from. Linda doesn't have that. She doesn't have hopelessness. Yeah. So when Linda started out, she was being mentored by two very experienced traders on the floor in the Philadelphia Stock Exchange. And they were really hard on her. So every Friday they went through her trades. Now, who here has someone who goes through their trades every Friday with them? Yeah, so I do that now with, I do that now with my clients as well, if they're open to it. But I can tell you, not many are open for it. because
What do you
it's
think that
painful.
does? What do you think that does to go back with someone else over your trades every week?
Sorry, what was that?
So what do you think that does to go back with someone over your trades every week?
Yeah. So number one, it toughens you up because you have to face reality. That is mental toughness.
Mm.
When you create mental toughness and you're realistic, that's also highly conscientious, right? So you practice high conscientiousness, which is really important in your being your word to yourself. You're incredibly vulnerable in that moment, and you learn that even though it's painful, you do what needs to be done and not what you feel like doing. That's what all that trains it. Um, what it also does is that you learn from others, of course, because you look through your own traits. You still look through the same eyes with the same brain. If you were to look at my traits, you look through different eyes with different experience. You can expand the boundary conditions of my thinking. So what it did for Linda was, Linda, why didn't you get out of this trait? Linda, why didn't you buy more? And, it was like almost always the opposite what she was doing, and they were giving her an incredibly hard time. And sometimes she wrote in her book, she was in tears, hiding in the toilet, but she's like determined not to give up. And, some people would say to her, where you can find sympathy between shit and syphilis in the dictionary. So that was how they would be talking on the floor. That's not sympathy. And that's why only the toughest people survived. And if Linda didn't have that tough mindset, that toughness already, she would have left the floor. Yeah. And so the toughness that she has, I believe, and when we spoke about that, came from her mother, because she's writing in her book as well how they went on hikes. And, the kids were like, oh, can we take a break? And the mother's like, we're almost there, we're almost up the hill. And then they get up the hill, right? And then there was another part to get up to the hill. And they're like, oh no. And the mother's like, come on, don't complain, just keep going. That creates mental toughness.
Do you think everyone can develop that mental toughness, or is it something that only a few people have?
Everyone who wants to can.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
So how does that work? How do you get to that point, in your opinion?
So starting with little things that you don't want to do. So little things like you wake up in the morning and you do make up your bed. And you start feeling that inner resentment. And you're like, it's just a 1 minute thing to make up my bed. Why do I have like a resentment against it? That's like weird, right? And you push through. You start with the little things you don't want to do. Cold showers. So when I was in Switzerland just last month, I went swimming in the lake every day in Zurich. It was cold, I can tell you that. But I loved it because I was so proud of myself that I still did it. You have to earn to be proud of yourself. You do things that are highly uncomfortable, like having conversations with people that you don't want to have. So being honest with someone, facing your mistakes. So if you have been unfair to someone, you don't hide. You call them, you say, I'm sorry, I was unfair, it was not okay, rather than hiding from that person. All that creates mental toughness. Anything that's uncomfortable. And what you also want to do is you want to learn how to think strategically. So mental toughness really means to be able to think strategically, logically, and analytically under pressure, in the heat of the moment, when you have to make quick decisions. And that is nothing but practice. So people who are highly neurotic, so who don't have emotional balance, they are usually the people who go mentally blank, and then they feel paralyzed. So they usually haven't learned how to think strategically. Learn how to think strategically. Google it. It's all over the internet. Everything is on the internet, in my opinion. So that's how I'm practicing my mental toughness.
Yeah, and that's something I feel like you cannot just get from a book or from a lesson or from Google. I think it's something that you gotta maybe learn from Google first, but then practice, and then through the experiences you face, that's where you really get the best kind of growth. overall.
Yeah, exactly. So, for example, yesterday, Etienne, you and I, we were doing some work in a green room, and I wasn't happy with my performance at all, right? And I was complaining to you. It's like, no, I'm not happy, I'm not happy. And it was incredibly uncomfortable for me. I've never been alone in a green room staring in this big black camera, having Etienne in my ear, feeling like, oh, alone. And that was for me overcoming something new, something that I was uncertain about. That creates mental toughness. When you push through, you do it anyway, right? Even though you want to find a reason like, oh, I have a flu, or I missed the train, or you want to make up reasons why you can't make it so you can prepare even more. And as you know, I wasn't happy afterwards, but then we debriefed. I faced it and I said, Etienne, what can we do better? And I was also talking to our friend about it. What can we do better? Because we want to have a higher standard. And then I felt okay about it. Whereas in the past, I would have silently gone away, felt bad, wanted to hide in the corner, and would have not asked for help and input and an objective, what were your thoughts about it? Yeah, so that's kind of like what Linda did when the guys went through the trades with her. Yeah, so these things that are uncomfortable, that you don't want to do, that is what creates mental toughness in any moment in life.
Mm-hmm. I want to make sure you guys in the chat can answer two questions. If you have any question from Mandi or from me, make sure you comment below in the chat. Let us know your question. We'll go through your question in just a minute. And because you're here and you can get value from Mandi, she's a professional coach, we could say. She's really good at what she does with coaching. And I've seen the impact of her work. So if you have any questions for her, comment in the chat and we'll go through that fairly soon.
Sure. So, Linda writes in her book, what do I have to do to stay strong psychologically, so to create mental toughness? She's a big believer in working out as a form of stress release, to stay in top shape, to mentally, emotionally, and physically stay in top shape. A sharp mind needs a fit body, she says. You should see her. She's so fit. She just turned 60 and she's, looks 10 years younger. It's just really amazing. But you can see she took care of herself, even though trading was so stressful in her career. So anything that will affect you emotionally can cause you to make lesser quality decisions. That's what she says. Emotional control is paramount in trading. Yeah, so being emotionally balanced. So working out, doing sports, whatever you can do, really important. So the other thing that Linda has is she does need validation. She doesn't have much ego. It doesn't matter if her win-loss ratio is 35% or 90%. What matters is the bottom line, how much money she has made in the end. And again, she has no ego when she misses out on trades. It's like, yeah, okay, I missed out. So what? I still make my money, I know. Now that's the difference.
I like that. Do you think ego is good for trading, or should you kind of put it aside as much as you can?
So I love my ego, right? I think ego is really healthy. But only if you know yourself so well, and because ego can be your driving force. It can also be the one that is standing in your way, creating blockages out of that fear. So it's kind of like that photo that you sent through with Linda. So on the left-hand side, that black circle, that is one dog. That is Zoe. Zoe is a Hungarian Puli. She's so cute. Zoe went to puppy school. Zoe is really well trained, and you can trust Zoe. She listens. There on the right-hand side is little Domino. Domino is a rescue dog. Domino has abandonment issues. He runs crazy. He's a little Jack Russell Beagle cross and crazy dog and so funny. And but he's dangerous. If you let him off the leash, he would run across the road and would cause an accident and could kill people. And so it's the same with our ego. If our ego is trained, it can be like Zoe, and save lives and round up sheep and create success. Whereas if your mind is unruly and untrained, then it's going to destroy your life. And so that's why when you want to train your mind, when you want to create mental toughness, when you want to become highly conscientious, what you need to do is you need to do things like jumping into cold water. That's what Tony Robbins does, for example. I don't have a cold water basin, so I have a cold shower. If I have a lake close, I go to the lake, or I live close to the ocean, so I would jump into the ocean. But the thing is that the key is that your mind is going to try to negotiate with you and to argue with you, and you don't allow it to do that. So the key is that you do the same with your trading. The price moves close to your stop loss, and your monkey mind starts chattering and starts arguing with you, and you're like, no, shut up, piss off, go away, I do my thing. Just like you would do when you make up your bed, when you have uncomfortable conversations, when you need to deal with things like your tax return is late, emotional pain, whatever it is.
Yeah. I'm curious, Mandy, on a kind of unrelated topic. That's a bit different, but I think it kind of ties back to what we talk about. How do you deal with being overwhelmed? Like when you have so many things to do and keeping up the trading in the right way. How do you deal with that?
Awesome. So I always ask myself, if Tony Robbins can run 36 companies, how does he do that? So again, model those who already live the way that you want to live. So I have all of Tony Robbins' programs. I saw how highly organized he is. One is his RPM program. So what I have done for my life is I have categorized every area of my life, like the wheel of life, right? That we spoke on, that we did the training for your group as well, right? For your academy, we did the wheel of life training a while ago now, where you categorize your life into health, family, career, business, trading, spirituality, happiness, really important, fun, right? And cleaning up messes. So every day you do something in each category. Now each category has to have subcategories. So if it comes to running a business, you have marketing, sales, finance, IT, support, social media. So you have to create subcategories for each of these areas. If someone is overwhelmed, most of the time, Etienne, is because they don't have an overview what needs to be done. And that's why they're overwhelmed, because they feel it's all a mess, and they don't know where to start and where to stop. Once they start organizing their life and they say, all right, so these are the categories of my life. These are the subcategories of the categories. This is what needs to be done in each category. And then every day I write down my top 5 things to do in each category. And then I tick them off. So the thing, for example, is when I have been sitting all morning behind my computer doing work, then I'm in inertia. If I say I go to the gym at 2 o'clock, I don't feel like going to the gym because my body is like lazy, right? It's at inertia, so it's Newton's law. And I know my body needs like a kick to get into movement. And so my mind starts arguing, oh, you need to finish this one. We have the YouTube Live with Etienne. You want to prepare yourself. And I'm like, nah, be quiet. We said we go to the gym at 2 o'clock. Let's do that. Yeah, so if someone feels overwhelmed, it's often because they're not organized enough. And they don't delegate enough. And you and I, we had this conversation where I'm like, Etienne, you're amazing, the way you run things. And number one, you are super organized, and I learned so much from you, and I'm so grateful to you. Again, learn from the people who already do what you want to do, and who do it well, right? And also, you are so cool with outsourcing. Whereas, a year ago, I was holding on to a lot of things for my own reasons. And now I learned to outsource as well, and my life is like, hallelujah, so much more room available.
Yeah, and one thing I learned recently, like not that long ago, is that even within trading, you can outsource many things that you don't have to do yourself. And people want to hold to that because they want to feel like, oh, they're the trader, they want to be in control of everything. But that only kind of gets you so far, because you get to a point where you could improve better if you give things to other people, I believe.
Yeah. So for example, look at your trading assistant.
Yeah.
And one of my guys, one of my traders has been speaking with you about it because he works all day, right? He can't be at the computer when his strategy triggers. So he gets this alert now, and then he does his thing.
Exactly.
Makes life so much easier.
Good point.
For
Exactly.
example. Yeah.
So, any
Yeah.
other topic you want to cover? Anything you want to kind of discuss about before we end this live?
I think that was a lot today, don't you think so?
That was a lot. I would recommend you guys in the chat, make sure you like take one or two things that you want to apply, one or two action step, and then take action on these and go back next week, review the same thing, and so you can find like one or two things to apply again, because that's how you improve, that's how you become better. If you watch these lives and just do, it's nice, it's good content, but don't apply, then that's where you don't go forward. You give the same rhythm of all the old patterns and habits.
Yeah, that's the big thing. And Etienne, I always say there's all the knowledge in the world that a trader needs in order to succeed, or a person needs in order to succeed in anything in life. Health, wealth, relationships, anything is out on the internet. So more knowledge, more content can't be it. What is missing is helping traders how to implement the knowledge. Yeah.
Yeah, and that reminds me that Mandy's having a program right now where you're doing a group coaching for people. I think really low price. So it's good for people to join. I think it's good for anyone. It's crazy cheap, but there's all the value within the program. So if you guys want to check this out, we've put the link below in the description. Just click on that. You'll see all the details there, and you get access to your program for coaching. She's doing like group coaching with you every week, I believe, and a few times per month. So you're both kind of stay on track and get to your goals. Because I think, like you mentioned, it's not about information at all. It's about support and ongoing improvement. So if you can have someone next to you to kind of tell you what to do, what to work on, then do it and get back to that person. I think that's how I think people get the best result.
Yeah, and also, I saw there is quite a few groups who teach how to trade, but there's no mindset group. So it's all about trading psychology, trading mindset, performance mindset, how to implement the structures that you need to implement in order to succeed in trading. So we don't teach trading strategy, only the supporting parts of that.
Yeah. But here's the thing. I know no one in trading that has like no strategies. They all have like some sort of strategies. I think they lack maybe the organization, the part where they put everything together. But people have strategies, they're everywhere. So find something, use it, and you're good. But then next step is like develop the mindset to get to your goals, and that's what Mandi can help with. So check out Mandi, check out the links below, and you'll be on your way to more success. And if you have any questions, you can post them here. We might stay a few minutes online to talk about these things. Adam says, go ahead.
Go to Linda Rushke's website, lindarushke.net, and really get her book. You can't get it off Amazon. You can only get it off her website. You can read the first chapter for free, so you get an idea. It's super funny, but it will give you so many insights on how she dealt with all the challenges that I mentioned before, that I was reading out before. Yeah, and then you can do it too. Learn from those who have already overcome those challenges.
Exactly. Quick question for you here that I find interesting. So this is Sun Chun who asks, may you share some tips on how to avoid social media, social distraction on trading? And also, is it a source of inspiration, these social media or anything around?
So here's how Linda does it. She, during trading hours, only posts. She doesn't read any remarks. She doesn't read any anyone else. After the market closes, she might read some social media.
Yeah, I'm pretty much the same way. Yeah, pretty much the same way. So I focus on producing and not consuming content online. That's it. I just prefer it that way. It's more productive and you feel like you have a better impact. And consuming is not really worth it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So if you want to learn from people, that's fine. If you have people you follow, that's fine. But then you gotta kind of select your content and just follow that.
So it's all about focus. So many tests have shown, so many experiments have shown that we can't split our focus. The brain can only go from one to the other, but we can't do many things at the same time. So we need to keep that in mind, that when we are trading, We want to focus on the market, on our strategy, and don't get sidetracked by funny tweets.
Yeah. And again, this comes back to what we were saying. So, Sun Chun says, i.e. watching Etienne on YouTube is nice, but also can be distracting, lead to a distraction after. So what if you set yourself as a goal of doing only that and then leaving YouTube after? Like watch a video that you want to watch, then that's it, leave it and go to work. If you do that enough, you get used to it and it's easy to do. If you don't do it, or if you do it only one time and then you forget and then you watch the videos, then it's hard to do, of course. But I think that's where the value is. Follow what you want to follow and then go away. Yeah.
You can start learning mental toughness, right? Because your mind starts chattering. It's like, oh, just this one video. And you're like, no. Like you would do with kids, right? You would say, no, that's it. No more chocolate.
It's tough, but it's how things work.
Yeah.
I feel. Yeah. So, yeah. So thank you, Mandi, for being here. I appreciate you a lot for kind of sharing these tips and these lessons that I think no one talks about. So it's good to have you come here and share these things. You guys can reach out to Mandi. We'll have a link for her channel below and the program she has right now, which is going to be a lot more valuable, of course. And we'll catch you guys pretty soon. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you on Sunday for the next video. Ciao.
Thank you.